Good afternoon, Mr. Sam and esteemed lecturers. Today, my group consisting of members Shane, Ero, and myself, Malcolm, will present our findings of the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy. This is the brief overview of our presentation today of what we're going to go through. Allow me first to give you a short introduction to this case. Lehman Brothers was once a major player in global finance, involved in investment banking, trading, and mortgage origination. However, its aggressive expansion into mortgage-backed securities (MBS) and collateralized debt obligations (CDOs) significantly increased its exposure to the housing market. When the subprime mortgage crisis hit, Lehman was highly vulnerable, ultimately leading to its collapse. As a result, on September 15, 2008, it filed for bankruptcy with over 600 billion in liabilities, the largest ever recorded in US history. Unlike Bear Stearns and AIG, which received government assistance, Lehman was unable to secure a bailout or a merger. Derivatives such as MBS and CDOs, while highly profitable in a booming market, were opaque and difficult to assess for risk, which led to a high systematic risk exposure. Next, as the housing market collapsed, the value of these derivatives plummeted, triggering enormous losses. Lehman also used credit default swaps to hedge against potential defaults, but instead, these instruments contributed to systematic risk when counterparties faced financial distress. Furthermore, Lehman relied heavily on short-term funding through repurchase agreements. As confidence in the firm deteriorated, lenders withdrew funding, worsening its liquidity crisis and ultimately leading to its bankruptcy. Now, I will pass the time on to Ero, who will explain Lehman's failures in risk management.
Thank you, Miles. Next, I will explain why the risk management failed in Lehman Brothers. Initially, the company pursued short-term profit and adopted an extremely high leverage strategies with a gearing ratio of more than 30 times, making them sensitive to market instability. At the same time, they ignored the real estate market warnings and relied excessively on MBS and CDOs. Incorrectly assumed that housing price would not collapse. Additionally, poor regulation also enhances risk. The Glass-Steagall Act repeats premier investment banks to take more risk without monitoring. Lehman even used Report 105 to hint his risk and temporarily lower liabilities. It also used short-term borrowing to fund long-term investment, which is risky. Finally, the market lost confidence in Lehman's creditor demand better collaterals and asset depreciated sharply, drying off illiquidities. However, Lehman filed for bankruptcy when the US government declined to bail them out, unlike Bear Stearns and AIG. This failure shows the serious consequences of weak risk management, quick financial operations, and lack of regulation. Now I will pass to Sean.
Thank you, Iro. I'm Shane, and I'll be walking through some key lessons and takeaways from the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy case. The first lesson we can learn here is that we should strengthen risk management. We can do so by introducing risk departments into the business structure, and these departments should be standalones that act with authority to challenge high risk decisions. We should also avoid excessive leverage, such as the 30 to 1 ratio, and funding mismatches, which increase exposure to market fluctuations. I believe the next lesson learned here is that financial integrity and transparency are extremely important when dealing with any type of risk, especially high risk. There should be absolute transparency with regard to risk disclosures. Financial integrity should be held by avoiding accounting manipulations such as Repo 105, and regular audits in the company should be a norm, and companies should develop close relationships with relevant regulatory bodies by adhering to a high level of compliance with regulations. Lastly, it is important to implement strategic safeguards and crisis preparedness. As seen in the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy case, the moment the housing markets crashed, they were doomed. In order to prevent this, we should ensure risk models account for extreme market conditions and also implement early warning systems to mitigate their effects, coming up with contingency plans to withstand market stress in the event of a crisis. Moving on from that, let's go through a reflective analysis of some things we would have done differently. To improve risk management, firstly, we will implement stricter leverage limits, perhaps a 15 to 1 ratio, which is half of what Lehman Brothers used. By capping the limit, this reduces risk and acts as a buffer for sudden market shocks or crisis. Secondly, we would mandate stress tests focusing on crisis aversion and crisis management, which would help the company prepare for extreme market scenarios or sudden changes in the market. Lastly, We will ensure there's long-term stability as seen in the Lehman Brothers case. Heavy dependence on short-term loans was highly unsustainable and proved fatal. Because of this, we will take a long-term approach by diversifying accounts, refraining from placing heavy reliance on specific loans, for example, mortgage-backed securities. To conclude, we believe that the downfall of Lehman Brothers serves as a cautionary tale of excessive risk-taking, poor risk management, and insufficient regulatory oversight. And the three main lessons derived from this are firstly, accountability, secondly, the necessity of transparency, and last but not least, prudent financial decision making. I think simply by keeping true to this, it is possible to safeguard the stability of financial institutions and prevent future crises. With that, we have come to the end of our presentation on the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy case. We thank you for your kind attention.